Welcome back, friends. This is Jayalakshmi Ravichandran signing in on behalf of Magic Needles under the title Learning with J Empowered by Magic Needles. This is part 2 of the crochet hook pouch for ergonomic hooks. In this, a small recap now. Last week we had finished up to row 28. That is, up to row 25 is your pocket rows, 26 and 27 were SC rows, and row 28 was your SC row in the back loop only. And then once we completed that, we placed one stitch marker in the front loop here. Right. Now we need to do row 29, and row 29 for the 12 rows till we reach here. It's going to be the cluster stitch. So after completing row 28, turn your work to 29. Turn your work, pull up the loop a little high, twist and place your first DC in the very first stitch. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through this two, yarn over, pull through this two. And then in the very first stitch where you did your DC, you're going to start your incomplete DC, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, make an incomplete DC, yarn over, skip the next stitch, insert your hook here, yarn over, incomplete DC, and complete your DC by pulling the loop through all 3 loops on the hook. Then to make the next 2 DC together, chain 1, yarn over, and insert, start your incomplete DC in the same place where you had completed your last DC of the 2 DC together, that is this same stitch. Pull up incomplete DC, skip 1 and complete your DC. Chain 1, yarn over, start from the same place where you had placed your last incomplete DC of 2 DC together. Make an incomplete DC, yarn over, skip 1, insert your hook in the next stitch, incomplete DC and complete 2 DC together. This is how it's going to continue till the end. Yarn over, insert in the same place as you had done the last incomplete DC. Incomplete DC again, skip 1, incomplete DC and complete 2 DC together by yarning over and pulling through all the 3 loops. So continue till the end. I shall meet you in the end. I have come to the end of the row. I am placing my last 2 DC together. I started here, started in the stitch where I had placed my last stitch of the previous 2 DC together, and now I am placing my incomplete DC in the very last stitch here, and this is where we need to be very careful. Where we had placed our last incomplete DC, in the same stitch, that is the last stitch, you make 1 double crochet. Turn your work, make a double crochet in this very first stitch, henceforth this is the repeat row actually, and incomplete DC you'll always begin in the very first stitch here where you had placed your double crochet, and then you will be working the next incomplete DC in the chain space. We have done 2 DC together, chain 1, starting in the same chain space for the first incomplete DC of 2 DC together, then next incomplete DC in the next chain space, yarn over, pull through. This is done. This is how your row will repeat. I will demonstrate once more. Chain 1, yarn over, insert in the same chain space as the last stitch done, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook in the next chain space, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 3. So this is done. So continue till the end. I shall meet you at the end. I've come to the end of this row, that is row 30. This is my incomplete DC in this chain, last but one. Yarn over, place your last incomplete DC in the last stitch here and complete the 2 DC together. That is not all. You need to place one DC also in the same stitch. So we begin with the DC, end with the DC, and the incomplete DCs also begin and end in the very first stitch. So when you count, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 7 2 DC together and 1 DC on either side. So this is how to continue the rows. You continue till 12 rows are completed, like 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. After 39 you do. I shall meet you at the end of 39 rows and tell you how to go about. Yeah, friends, work row 29 to row 40 and not 39. 39 won't be sufficient because after row 40, that is totally 12 rows of cluster stitches you're going to do, and then after row 40, 41st row is chain 1 and turn your work. Place 1 single crochet in every stitch across, starting from the very first stitch. 1 single crochet on every stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the chain space also, chain space, and 1 here. So totally you should have 36 stitches at the end, single crochets at the end. So in chain space here, then over the stitch 2 DC together, 1 in chain space, 1 in 2 DC together, chain space, SC and 2 DC together. Like that you continue till the end. I shall meet you at the end. I have placed my last SC in the last stitch and I counted that there are 36 single crochets in this line. This is very important because we are going to place our work on top of the side, and then we have placed our stitch marker here. This is a row of stitches wherein we are going to combine this front portion to the main body of the crochet pouch. So chain 1 and turn your work, and I am going to join in the inner loops together, this loop and this loop where I have placed my stitch marker. Now I can remove the stitch marker. So this inner loop and this loop make a single crochet, then align them like we did. Alternatively, if you're not comfortable with the inner loops, you can insert your hook in the entire stitch here and pick up the inner loop here. Okay, but I prefer to do it this way. So the third one now, like that you should have 26 stitches together here, joining. So this we are joining the first panel to this panel here. I'll meet you at the end. I have joined my last stitch to the last front loop where we had marked with the stitch marker, that row. Now chain 1 and turn. What we are going to do is row 43. 43 is a simple row of SCs. place one SC in the very first stitch, one SC in each stitch across, and at the end you should have 36 single crochets, because that's very important, because we are going to join the other front loop that we have marked on the spine. Okay, so after placing all the SCs, I will meet you at this particular end here. I have finished placing my last SC in the last stitch here. Chain 1 and turn. Now it's time to join to the other front loop that we had marked with the stitch marker. In that row, in each stitch, to each stitch you are aligning each of the stitches here and joining them. That is why I told you the stitch markers play a very important part. I have done this SC row because we have done an SC row here, and that will align with that particular row in the spine. So remove the stitch marker, insert your hook. Very first stitch you can insert under both the loops and pick up this loop and finish off your single crochet. Next onwards I am going to do only in the back loops, that is the loops that are inside. The back loop of this row and the front loop that we have marked, we are going to join them together, aligning and making an SC underneath the both. Like you pick up stitch under both of them and complete your single crochet. This and this. At the end of this joining, you should have 36 single crochets. So I'll meet you at the end of this particular row. Yeah, let me explain the stitches. Row 29 to row 40, it's cluster stitch. Start with one DC in the very first stitch, and in the same stitch you do an incomplete DC, skip one incomplete DC in the next, and then complete 2 DC together. Chain 1, then start your next incomplete DC in the same chain where you're, this is for the first row, chain where you completed this incomplete DC 2 together, then again one incomplete DC after skipping one chain, and then complete the 2 DC together. This is how you continue. For the subsequent row, what you do is you place a DC here, and here itself you start your incomplete DC, and henceforth you will be working only in the chain spaces. This is the chain space here you have. So in the chain space here, before you do this also you will have one chain space. So in this chain space you will do your 2 incomplete DCs 2 together, and then chain 1, skip this stitch, and then you will begin your incomplete DC here and end your another incomplete DC here, and you have a stitch. So it will work like this. Okay, suppose you have then you will not work here. You will begin your incomplete DC here, complete the stitch, in between you have a chain 1 space, then begin here, skip this, chain 1, begin here, skip, chain 1, begin here, and then this is chain 1, and then you finish here, and you will place one DC also here. So this is how it will continue. In the subsequent rows it's going to be one DC here, start with the incomplete one, and then you have a chain space here. So in the chain space you're going to place your next incomplete DC and complete it. So there is no chain space between this DC and this, it's together here, it's continuous, but here you will have a chain space, then begin your incomplete DC, and then place your other incomplete DC and complete your stitch, and then you will have a chain. So this is how you will continue, and then here you will be finishing off your last incomplete DC 2 together, and then place your last DC here. So this is going to continue. This row is going to repeat row after row for how many ever rows you want. For this particular piece I needed 12 rows, so I did from row 29 to row 40 cluster stitch. This is a stitch I have done. Next, after doing that, we will, for row 41 it is an SC row. Then row 42 is joining to the spine. That is what we did. I have used joining with SC in the inside loops of both the stitches. Okay, and then this is the joining row, joining to spine, and then row 43 is again an SC row. Row 42, 44 sorry, is again SC joining row to the front loop that we had marked with a stitch marker and to the back loop of the row 43. Then row 45 is again a simple SC row. So this is how we are going to work, and we have finished that. We finished joining the spine here. In the next, after joining the last of the second spine, we are going to place one SC in each of these stitches across, and that we are going to have 36 single crochets. For that, you chain 1, turn your work, hold it like this, and beginning from the very first stitch, you place your single crochet. Four. This is normal single crochet working under both the loops. I will meet you at this particular end here when I have 36 single crochets done. Okay. I finished row 45 by placing my last single crochet here. Now I am going to turn from row 46 to row 57. It's again going to be cluster stitch, that is next 12 rows. So I'll show you once. I always begin with a standing DC, or I place my DC here, a twisted DC. I twist, take it into the very first stitch, pull out a loop, pull through, pull through. This is my very first stitch, first DC done here. And then I begin my incomplete DC in this same stitch here, yarn over, insert my hook here, insert your hook in the very first stitch, pull out a loop, incomplete DC, that is yarn over, pull through 2 just once, then again yarn over, skip the next stitch, insert in the following one, pick up the loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you'll have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all the 3. And this chain 1 is very important. Chain 1, insert in the same stitch where you finished your stitch, that is 2 DC together, pick up, pull through 2, yarn over, skip 1, continue this. This is skipping the stitch is only for the first row. Second row onwards, you're going to work only in the chain spaces and the last 2 DCs. Fine. So I'll meet you. It is same as rows 29 to 40. Here it is rows 46 to 57. You're going to complete and get back. Okay, fine. Yeah, I've completed 12 rows of cluster stitches, and then I've placed SC row as the last stitch, and saw to it that I have 36 SCs here because we began with 36 stitches. Now it's time to join. We end up at this right hand. So remove your hook, insert your hook in the other side and pull up this loop and turn your work. Chain 1, tighten it and place an SC in the very first one. You can alternatively work in both the inside loops for joining, or you can join like this also on the outside. It's up to you to join how you wish. The first one I'm joining the normal way, inserting in 2 loops here and picking up the inside loop of the other side, the first loop, first stitch, Oh, oh. And then align the stitches and join the inside loops with single crochets all the way through. So at the end you should have 36 stitches. I'll meet you at this particular end here. I've come to the end of this row here of SCs. Chain 1 and turn. This is the corner SC, so I'm going to place 2 single crochets here and begin my work. I'll be finishing off with one more single crochet in the same stitch. Then I'll place 1 single crochet in each of the stitches across till the last but one. I'll meet you at the end of this row when I'm just going to make the last stitch, place the last stitch here. I've come to the corner, last stitch. In this last stitch, place 3 single crochets, 1 single crochet in the middle for the turning, and then we are going to join these two ends. These are the thicker ends. We need to place our joining stitches evenly across. So there is no mathematics for this. Just start placing your stitches evenly across to join. That is not going to affect, it should not curl up. That is the only thing you need to take care. You should not place too many stitches or too less stitches. So just join at the go like henceforth the count of stitches is not going to matter at all. Only thing, you should not have too many stitches. If you have too many stitches, they will pop out, and if you have too less stitches, they will pull up the shape of the crochet pouch. So put the stitches, single crochet stitches evenly across here, and when you come to this particular point here, you need to place 3 single crochets in the turning and place 1 single crochet across in each of the stitches here. I'll meet you at this particular end. Yeah, I have placed my last SC in the last stitch here, and I need to place 2 more for turning. And now before joining the last end of it, the other end, we need to insert either this OHP sheet or you get this embroidery cross stitch material in plastic. You can use that, or I am using my Netlon material which we use usually for our mosquito net, so that will also work fine. Something stiff we need to insert, not very stiff, it can be flexible like this and it will work fine. That is how it is working for me. I had preferred to use the OHP sheet here. So this OHP sheet is easily available in any stationers, and this is available in any hardware stores, and the cross stitch material will be available for you in any embroidery material stores. Okay, so you just have to cut to size and insert it inside. This will be little rough. I have inserted the plastic canvas, embroidery cross stitch canvas, as well as the OHP sheet. I wanted it to lay over it, and little thicker I wanted to make, so I inserted both of them. I had cut them to size and I put them inside. Now it's time to bind off this side. As we did the other longer side, lengthwise we place our stitches evenly. We join with single crochet. I'll meet you at the end of this row. I shall show you one more time. Place your joining stitches evenly. It will be little difficult because we are joining two thicker ends together. So we need to place them evenly and make it look neat and nice. Okay, this way you place your stitches. I shall meet you at the end of this row here. I've placed my last stitch here. I had done 2 SCs, and the same point I am making one more last SC, and then slip stitch and join to the very first stitch here. And the next round is a slip stitch round. You're going to do slip stitch all the way around, but first 18, when we come to the 18th stitch, we're going to stop there. I will slip stitch up to 18 and stop there. From the cornermost, if you count the cornermost stitch, then it is a 19th stitch here. We have slip stitched to the 19th. Chain 12 now tightly. And slip stitch to the next stitch. So this is the loop we have made for the button, and we'll place the button accordingly on the other side, and then now slip stitch all around and finish off at this particular end here. Slip stitch all around and finish off at this end and fasten off. I'll meet you at this end. I have placed my last stitch here and slip stitch, joined and fastened off. I had hidden my tail ends too. So what I did was, this loop we had already made, so placing it here. So I had placed a jeans button here. Jeans button comes like this. It just gets interlocked. You just have to place this lock from behind like this and just push it and press it. It gets locked. It gives a neat finish here. This will not come away because we have kept the inside hard material. That is, we have the OHP sheet inside, so it will come through that. It will not come away. See, how much ever you pull, it will not come away. Okay, and this we can lock it like this. So this is your finished single fold crochet hook case. You completed successfully. I will place all the hooks and show you. I have placed my ergonomic crochet hooks inside. Now I can place these hooks also along with them. You can also place them inside. Absolutely no issues at all. Or you decoratively you can place them like this outside. It's better to place them inside. And you can place your stitch markers, pin them up. You can pin them up in a line. So if you want to place your scissors, the scissors should have the cover for the tips, otherwise it will tear the case. So then close it. Your single fold hook case is ready. For this pouch I have used around exactly 88 grams of 4-ply cotton yarn from MagicNeedles. Now let us go over to the 2-fold one. Till the first fold, when we are coming back, we make 12 rows of cluster stitch the same way as we had done for the single fold one, and then make an SC row. Then you have to join to the front loop of the spine. So align the stitches and join to the front loop of the spine here, and then I'll get back to you. I have placed my last stitch here, joined here, and now turn your work, because this is the larger spine, the wider spine, and we have done double crochets here, so we are going to place a double crochet in each of these 36 stitches. So turn your work, begin with a standing or a twisted DC here in the very first stitch. Alternatively you can chain 3 and turn. Place 1 DC in each of the next 35 stitches. Alternatively, if you want to make your pouch appear good, what you can do is place a row of SC here. For that you need to chain 1 and turn. Rest of the procedure is same. The next row will be slip stitch row, then again one SC row, and then we join to the other part of the spine here. What I will do is I will make an SC row, a slip stitch row, and SC row, and get back to you. Instead of DC row here, I had made one SC row, a slip stitch row, and an SC row again, and it has given me a beautiful spine for the broader edge. Now it's time to join the stitches together for the spine. We had already joined this end, so we'll remove the stitch marker, it's no more required. And then this is the first stitch we need to join. So I have chained 1 and turned. The very first stitch we'll insert under both the loops and the single loop here, and now remove the stitch marker, place an SC and join. And if you do a DC, so once you complete the DC here, you join to the spine. That is the only difference. Just to make it little more decorative for the larger spine, I had done one SC row, a slip stitch row, and an SC row. That's the only difference. Okay, now I'm going to join the inside loops only with single crochets. So I'll do a few more along with you and then meet you at the end of this row. Align the stitches and make the slips single crochet join together. I'll meet you at the end here. I have placed my last stitch here, last joining, and see how this looks. So we fold it here This is the thicker spine and this is the thinner spine here. So this is how it looks, and this is the space we get, and this decorative stitch we get when we use the SC slip stitch and SC rows instead of the DC rows. Okay, now what we do is chain 1 and turn, place 1 single crochet in each of the stitches. I shall meet you at the end of this row. I have placed my single crochet rows here and I am at this particular point and I have turned. Henceforth, we need to repeat row 29 for 12 more rows, and then an SC row, and then you again slip stitch, you join this front loop row with the SC row of the front part when you come here, and then you do as you did the ribbing for the normal single fold one, the same way you do it here, and then again you make the cluster rows and complete as you did for the that is bind off as you did for the single fold one. Rest is the same. The only difference for the double fold and the single fold is near the larger spine, the broader spine, I can say, not the larger, the broader one. So once you complete this 12 rows of clusters, because here we have 12 rows because we have done 2 rows of DCs together, and so if we do the 12 rows of clusters, it will cover up this particular space, and then 1 row of SC, join, 1 row of SC, join, 1 row of SC, and then continue with clusters again and finish off with a row of SC and join here. Join these stitches together and join all around and complete the pouch. Once you complete that pouch, I will tell you how to go about placing the buttons. I have completed the front cover for this bifold crochet hook pouch. So for this, instead of the buttons, what I did was I made an I-cord with the same yarn, 30-inch long, and I just inserted inside this and brought it out at even spacing. Again I inserted the same line at a distance, leaving 2 rows here and 2 rows here, 2 rows here, 2 rows here. I have inserted inside, brought it out, inserted inside, and I have joined both the ends of the I-cord together, and I had secured it somewhere inside in one of the places so that it doesn't move. Okay, and this I felt it was nice for me. I wanted it in a different way. Otherwise you can always make a loop from here and place a button here in these 2 places, and otherwise you can think of a zipper also, but zipper is little dicey. This is how I can place my I-cord this way. This is one way. The other way is this way. So this is how it looks. So it will hold. The I-cord will do the thing and it will look neat also. No buttons used in this. Okay, and one more thing I did here was, it's up to you. I did not bind this end together. That is this end together where I am folding it inside. I am planning to place a velcro and seal it so that I can place my accessories inside this pocket. This is one change I did for this. I customized for this, and then I did not bind here also. Here too I can place a velcro inside and bind, and I can keep other accessories, so I have more space. 15 hooks plus accessory holders also I have given provision in this. So this is how it is done. It will give a neat look. Right, let us place the hooks and see. For this I had given the button. For this is without the button hold. I shall place all the hooks and get back to you. I have placed all the hooks that I use quite often. I have secured a few stitch markers also here. I can also place my tapestry needle this way, it will not fall off. It's not going to fall off, it will stay here. And then I have placed my scale and the what do you call, hook gauge measurer. And other accessories I can put them inside as and when whatever I require. Then I close it like this. That is it. Once I put the velcro here, this will not come out. Then I have the option of, I can keep them here. One will do, this is not required. Then close it. For this I have not given the plastic stiff sheet inside. You can use any plastic sheet, either OHP sheet, or you can cut plastic sheet from your old files, anything. You can get the embroidery cross stitch casement, whatever you want you can give inside if you want, and make it stiff if you want it like this. Otherwise this is soft, this will also hold good. Alternatively, if you want to accommodate more hooks, what you can do is, you can have chains made and binding at a distance, from here to here a chain, from here to here a chain, from here to here a chain, then from here to here a chain, from here to here, binding at every go. On the go you can bind and do all the chains. One row of chaining is not enough. You should have 2 chains made likewise at a distance of 1 inch. That is one chain coming from here and securing here. Chains, a few chains, say 7 to 8 chains or 5 chains, and secure it here. So this will, you can hold your hooks like this. That will hold your hooks like this, but you need 2 chains, and with the same color, that will give a beautiful look. If you make with a contrast color, it may look good, or it may look like patches. So that also you can do. Sky is the limit for you to customize, and you can have small pockets added here wherever you want, separately crochet and attach. All that is your imagination. The basic requirement, this pouch, we have show cost here. This is how it will look. Thank you friends. Hope you will enjoy this crochet hook pouch cal, and look forward to the next cal, which is going to be a different one with a different yarn. Do subscribe to Magic Needles, and don't forget to click on the bell icon so that you get notified as and when we upload a video. Thank you friends. Have a nice day. Bye.